our dear viewers, and welcome to new edition from Africa Today. In today's edition, we'll be talking about the Egyptian-Ethiopian relations. How can we weigh the relations ahead of the tripartite talks, which will take place by the end of the month, which will include Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia, and will take place in Sudan. To shed more light on the issue, we'll be joined by Mr. Ahmed Mahmoud, the journalist. But now we'll start with this report. Minister of Irrigation and Water Resources Hossein Moghazi said that Egypt has prepared new proposals to introduce new negotiations with Ethiopia later this month over the controversial Renaissance Dam. More details with Shireen Adel.
Irrigation and Water Resources Hossein Moghazi said Egypt is to file new proposals in Nile Dam negotiations with Ethiopia. Ethiopia had agreed for further negotiations in Sudan on the 25th of August over the dam, which Egypt fears would negatively impact the flow of Nile water to it. Addis Ababa had frequently stressed the dam would not damage Egypt's water security. The minister explained that the proposals include reducing the current planned capacity of the dam with alternatives applied to achieve the targeted amount of electricity produced. He said that though the mission is not easy after negotiations had faltered, they are still optimistic and ready to accomplish results that would not overcome Egypt's tenets, stressing that Egypt intends to make use of the positive atmosphere to resolve the disputes. The minister said in statements earlier that Egyptian officials have cautious optimism regarding their upcoming talks with Sudanese and Ethiopian officials over the latter's ongoing Nile Dam project. Hossein Moghazi said in a lengthy interview published in Al-Ahram daily newspaper that they are optimistic they are going to reach an agreement regarding the Grand Renaissance Dam crisis. He said the talks in Khartoum can work out, but this is cautious optimism, adding that he will raise his scientific and technical concerns as well as ideas regarding tripartite cooperation during the discussions. He added that the irrigation ministry is ready for all scenarios. The minister stressed that time was running out, saying that the talks will pick up where they left off instead of from square one. If an agreement is reached, he said, Egypt will ask Sudan and Ethiopia to join an economic bloc for cooperation on all kinds of projects, and that will be a strong economic power in North and East Africa.
An interview with Al-Ahram daily newspaper following the U.S. African summit, Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab stressed that development in the African continent would be the only way to combat extremism through the fighting of terrorism. More details in the following story.
Minister Ibrahim Mahlab said mutual development and investment in Africa is key to ridding the continent of terrorism. Attending the summit, Mahlab explained he had the chance to meet several U.S. officials and businessmen to which he could talk about the reforms Egypt had been embarking on. In an interview with Al-Ahram newspaper, he said he discussed possibilities for development cooperation that would work on combating ignorance and poverty to end terrorism. He also said that if there are investments, there will be employment, and that would require unifying programs and developing them. Mahlab further added that Egypt is playing an important role in combating terrorism, highlighting how that in turn serves the whole world, as terrorism has become an international industry and trade. Mahlab pointed out that the U.S. President's decision to allocate $110 billion to combat terrorism assures them that they are on the same path, stressing that development is the key. Talking about the new Suez Canal project, Mahlab said that it will have a major impact on Egypt's politically, economically, and socially. The Suez Canal development mega projects include the development of several seaports in 3 governorates bordering the canal, Suez, Ismailia, and Port Said, in addition to a seaport in the South Sinai city of Nuweiba and the development of Sharm el-Sheikh Airport. Mahlab attended the U.S.-Africa summit, during which he also held talks with his Algerian and Ethiopian counterparts. The talks involved the impact of Ethiopian High Dam on Egypt's share of water, which Mahlab said will be discussed in a meeting planned between ministers of irrigation at the end of August.
welcome back. To shed light on the Egyptian-Ethiopian relations, we are delighted to have with us our dear guest, Mr. Ahmed Mahmoud, the journalist. Hello, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
Sir, how do you weigh the Egyptian-Ethiopian relations ahead of the expected summit which will take place in Sudan by the end of the month? And it would be the tripartite meeting between Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia.
I think it's a good start, and I think it will be much more productive than what we think, actually. And I think also this is something has to be led off on, because we need a lot to see the future of this relationship, how it can benefit Egypt.
Sir, what kind of projects that should be taking place between Egypt and Ethiopia in the coming phase, and taking into consideration that we have witnessed a tense phase between Egypt and Ethiopia due to the establishment of the Renaissance Dam, which is creating more not hostility but kind of stiffness in the relations between the two countries, which due to its effects on the flow of the River Nile in Egypt?
I think first we have to think about electricity. You know how much we need to think about that in Egypt, and it's a good potential with Ethiopia if they are going to build the dam anyway. So why don't we think about that? We have a great experience in electrical projects, so why don't we do that there? This is the first thing. They have water, which we also need for cultivating products. So what about also crops like corn, like whatever products that we need, like in agriculture?
Actually, sir, we have been hearing about cultivating new crops and cultivating more crops in African lands, especially in Sudan and Ethiopia. But after this moment, we did not see real decisions taken concerning this issue, or crops cultivated in other lands, in fertile lands, in other Nile Basin countries. How do you weigh this?
I think it has to go on different layers. You have first the government who can go and invest and then you have the private sector. The private sector are the businessmen. We have to see also about the businessmen who are willing to go and work there and how we say invest in these domains.
But how do you weigh the percentage of investment by the Egyptian investors in the African continent, and especially in the Nile Basin country? I think it's quite traveled.
I think it can be quite enormous if they think about it.
But at this moment, it's
still, because you still need to wait to see how things are going to be in Egypt first. You have a lot of huge projects to be done in Egypt, like the Suez Canal, the new project of Suez Canal. You have also Toshka, which is being revived again after a long time of stopping it.
Yes.
So now I think businessmen now they are waiting to see also about the parliament, what are the laws are going to be legislated in the new parliament, how things are going to go about investment, taxes, everything. I think we are in a phase that I believe that businessmen are waiting to see what they are going to do. However, I think they still can go and continue in Africa, at least because this is a new potential that can help them also to maximize their profits.
What about the new project of the Suez Canal? To what extent this could be beneficial to Egypt and also to the African states?
I think Africa can count a lot on
a real link.
Yeah, well, anyway, Africa is, if they want to be connected to Europe, they have to pass by us. And this normally was seen in a very small quantity, because they don't have, I think they count more on that we are bringing to them the goods from abroad, and even our Egyptian goods are going to Africa. So I don't know how projects can be promoted between the Nile Basin countries and Egypt in what we call transportation, in maritime transportation.
Sir, not only in maritime transportation, but what about creating industrial zones in this project? Like what we have been hearing by Russia, of course, with the differences, but what about creating industrial zones and free trade zones between Egypt and the Nile Basin countries in particular? particular, why we do not witness any real talks concerning these issues at this moment?
I think government has to start negotiating this with them, because it goes like, there is a saying that it takes two to tango. I mean, like, we have to go and talk with them and see the potentials. Probably, maybe they don't see the potentials. I don't know. Maybe they have other priorities. But then why don't we form a committee that can go and discuss with them and see the potentials and make studies about what are the potentials to exchange with Nile Basin countries in terms of manufacturing, in terms of commerce, in terms of even agriculture or whatever. Yeah. And then we see what we can do in terms of cooperation between the two sides.
What about the probability that Egypt could help the other Nile Basin states, and especially Ethiopia, in many developments in the infrastructures in particular?
I think we can help them in everything. It just needs that we make these talks, we take the talks on a higher on a higher level, like not only discussing or not only negotiating about the dam, the Renaissance Dam, but also negotiating about how can we profit of this cooperation between the two countries.
Sir, recently Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab attended the US-Africa Summit, which took place a few weeks ago, and on the sidelines of the summit he met with his Ethiopian counterpart Hilmarim Desalegn, during which they discussed the bilateral relations, and they agreed that they must boost the bilateral relations between the two countries. How do you see this, and what projects and what more steps could be done between the two countries in order to create more rapprochement and more cooperation on different levels?
I think that's a great thing which has happened to make this meeting and to make these discussions, and this will help to, how we say, to break the ice, especially after this how we say, stress between the two countries after some time. I think this is good. We are going on the right way, but we need to take it on a further level, like the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should really focus on a higher level of cooperation. And I think our commercial attaches in Africa should think more about cooperation in these fields. I think we need to do a lot of efforts, and we need to make a lot of studies also about the potentials there. We need to understand not only the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but also for the public opinion, like for the media should work on that. I mean, I think media also is responsible. They should send more media people to these countries to bring more knowledge about this.
Yes, as a journalist here, what's the role that the media, the journalists, the media people should play in order to boost the relations